Hey, this is Adrian Singleton, and of course, I'm super happy that you all decided to join us. Hey, I want to welcome you to the Beyond Lean, the Lean Career and Transformation Podcast. I am a career executive and a transformation leader in terms of continuous improvement. Been doing this for about 25 years, and I want to share some things with you in terms of those of you all that may have a very unique question. And their unique question is this, is how do I enter into developing and having a career in Lean or Lean Six Sigma? There was a part of a time in my life when I was in operations. I was in operations for a very long time. Now it's been about 25 or 26 years. But I began to fall in a position to where I really enjoy the opportunity to develop minds, which is super important, by the way, if you're thinking about Lean. The difference of working in a arena to where it's majority about influence versus an arena when you are working when the majority about authority. Two different levels. When you're able to move in authority, there is a word that we use in operations that's called malicious compliance. What is malicious compliance? Malicious compliance is I'm going to do exactly what you asking me to do, even if it may be against my core beliefs or what I see in terms of what could be corrected. I'm going to do it simply because you pay me. So that's me moving because you have authority over me, and you simply sign off on my checks, and you're responsible for me being able to take care of my family. But there's a different side of leadership in terms of influence. Influence is you are allowing individuals to see the vision that you're painting about what you're going to do in terms of the business problems, how we're going to solve it, and what is the business going to look like the next 3 to 5 years. So as an influencer, you help individuals, no matter what level they're at in their careers, you help them see their vision inside of the overall vision so that they can move along with the vision. Two big different opportunities. So I had a chance to go down a career field to where I can utilize authority or I can utilize influence. One thing I found out is this, that even after you exit the company or you move to different roles, the people always remember you more and appreciate you more when you are able to lead by influence versus authority. You can prove it out. Think about yourself. All of the leaders that you may have had in your life, I know for myself, have been leaders that have been able to influence me the most by developing my mind, by allowing me to see things completely differently than when I saw them before I entered or before I became a mentee or a friend of theirs. So, but with authority, most of the people who I work for that had authority, they tend to have, back in my day, the iron fist mentality. Do what I say do, or else it's the highway for yourself and your career. Those leaders are no longer, to me, valuable in this type of area that we're in, because now people are starting to recognize the value that they bring to the company. And it's easy to go on LinkedIn with the technology and simply transition, or like our college athletes, enter the portal. One thing I can say this, is that most people won't remember the things you did, but they will always remember how did you make them feel during that time of working with you. So I decided to go down the path of being an influencer because I really believed in the people who mentored me. I really believe in mentoring people and teaching them how to do exactly what I did in my career. But one thing I can say is this, the very first step inside of me becoming a lean practitioner is I understood my value. I knew exactly what was the value that I gained from experience. So number one, what is the value that you bring to the table with your years of experience? It doesn't matter what career field you're in. You can be a sales guy, you can be in the medical field, you can be in retail. It doesn't matter what field you're in. You have to locate and understand the experience that you learned over the years and what did you change while you were in those positions? Who did you impact? How did you impact the bottom line? What were the KPIs that you helped improve by your experience? So experience is something that's so great. Notice majority of the people that are leading companies now, they have 20 plus years of experience, but it doesn't mean that their value is less than your value if you have 1 to 2 years experience. It's just they have went around the block more times than you and I, that they have a chance to see things from a different level because they have experienced so many different processes. So as yourself, number one, again, what is the value that you bring with your experience? Again, if you were a person that was in maintenance, have you cleaned up rooms and did things too as well? How did you help reduce the safety in the environment? How did you help reduce the ergonomic or the environment of things that can take place to germs. We all know that we are in a COVID environment. You can show that you reduced certain hazardous spaces because of you being a maintenance guy. But you have to know how to set those things up on your CV or on your resume so that when the jobs are available, you can be the person to at least have the opportunity to have a conversation with the hiring manager. Number two, make sure that you update your CV or your resume with the metrics of what you changed. Just say, for instance, if you were a person that worked in a restaurant, then simply, how did I reduce the lead time from when a person orders a food to when they received it? It may have been about 30 minutes because some restaurants are more a relaxing environments to where people come down to get their drinks. And then once they get their drinks, they order their appetizers. Once they order the appetizers, then they order the entree. So it's more of a laid back environment. So if you worked in a laid back environment, then you need to understand how to develop the KPIs that made their restaurant business more successful. What were the KPIs you developed? If you worked in construction, what were the KPIs that you did in construction? Most of the people, and I see tons of resumes, they show the job description of what they did on the job, but they never show how did they enhance their job. Because most of the people that give you the opportunity to work for their company, they're not just giving you a job, they're giving you something that they're expecting to multiply. You know, one of the greatest books I read, it talks about a story that when a leader gave 3 people certain amount of currency, he gave one man 1 set of currency. The next man, he gave 2 levels of currency. And then the last man, he gave 5 levels of currency. The man that received 5 levels of currency, when the leader came back, he doubled it because he was able to turn something greater than what he was that he received. The man that received the 2 levels of currency, he was able to double it and increase it and to do more with it than the person that gave it to him because he expected for the grow the business. The person that received only 1, he only hid it away. He only did what he was asked to do. He wanted to make sure that whatever he received, he gave it back in the same fashion. The same exact way you can connect that with your job. Anytime somebody gives you a job, they expect for you to multiply it, make it better. They give you the basic level of the job description. So when I look at your resume, if your resume only show that you did exactly what they asked you to do according to the job description, that means you didn't level up to a different level, to a different area. So how do you look at your resume and say, if I will receive this job as a supervisor, before I came, the throughput was X. But after I left, we increased the throughput by a certain amount of percentage. When I first came, uptime was X. But when I left, uptime was X. I increased it by 25%. You want to make sure that you are bullet pointing those things you did to increase that role and to make sure that the person that you're interviewing with, they have a comfort level that whatever I give this person, they're going to make it better than what it was when I first gave it to them. That is your job. That's number 2. Number 3, you want to make sure that you're developing a professional story. Think about majority of all of us and how we learn. We learn from great stories. Anytime you read a great book, the very first thing that the author do is tell you their story because you cannot appreciate their results until you understand their story. Or if you listen to the results and don't appreciate the story, then you would never understand how to achieve those results or what it took to get to those results if you don't understand the story. So I'll pause and ask you this. What is your story? Those of you all that came to this podcast, Beyond Lean, you came to this podcast because I had to tell you my story. My story is unique to me. My story is a level of hope for you that as you develop your story in your career, that someone will listen to your story one day. So as I look down your resume, I should be able to see a story that you can talk to very well that intrigues me to want to bring you in for a simple interview because of your story. Stories are something that we have to think about because whenever you listen to a great speaker that can tell a very good story, he pulls the crowd in. He draws them to walk down a journey of what his life looked like. He draws them in to start to create a picture in their mind about this story. He draws them in to want more details. They hunger to want to know what's next. So when someone is looking at your resume should draw them in to want them to know more. They should want to know more about who you are by simply saying that you had this type of experience, but most of these opportunities here, you were able to excel and increase and to make production better, to make the operations better, to make the people better. You were able to mentor teams. You were able to coach and train individuals. Just think about this. Majority of the companies now, they want to bring in experts that understand organization development, that understand how to build people, because no business can function without having people to work with people. Majority of the work is people working with people. And when you go through an interview process too as well, your story helps with what we call behavior, when they do a behavior level of resume or a behavior level of interview. They're checking your behavior to see how will you respond in moments of stress. How will you respond in moments of conflict? How would you respond in moments of victory? How do you bring your team in? So all of these things, you need to make sure that you spend time writing down your story to understand how to tell your story so that it translates inside of your resume. And the last bullet point I want to give you this here is, do you really need a certification? I'm going to pause for a second and say, I'm going to say yes and no, no and yes. Because when I first started, I had no certification at all, but I had a hunger to learn. I only started to know about the tools, but I wasn't certified. Once I started to understand how to make the tools applicable to my career, and I began to apply the tools to specific areas in operation, and when I started to see the change on the floor, capacity change, safety got better, quality improved, the cost was reduced, our delivery time was reduced, and our customers were overall satisfied, then I began to learn that type of experience as a lean practitioner. Now, as I began to be elevated in my career, I decided to get the certification because I know that the certification can open up so many more doors, but I don't need the certification to start my career. So my encouragement to you is this: gain the experience in no matter where you're at. And majority of the time, once I break down what is a lean career, most people respond back and say, well, I've already been doing this for 20 years because it's simply bringing things closer together. And all of us have heard this: let's work smarter, not harder. I think every person on this podcast, if you haven't heard that, then I don't think you're from Earth. Work smarter, not harder. So lean gives you the opportunity to work smarter, not harder. In any job that you go in, I started out when I was in high school working at McDonald's, and I was the guy that cooked the meat on the grill. I was flipping the burgers and making things a whole lot easier, but we knew that we had a certain amount of burgers that we had to have, especially during Super Bowl. So I began to think about, how do we have more burgers? How do we put more burgers on the grill? How do we make sure that they're already seasoned? So we started pre-seasoning them and pre-allowing them to start defrosting down, because we know that we had to fill the grill. Because I remember we had 50 cents, I think it was 25 cents hamburger and 50 cents cheeseburgers. So back in my young days as a teenager, I was thinking about how to solve problems then and how to get more throughput. So majority of us that are trying to enter into a lean career field, you're already doing continuous improvement. You just don't know it. Think about your dishwasher. Think about when you put up your forks and your knives at home. Isn't it easier to have the cabinets closer to you, or do you have to walk on the other side of your bedroom to put things up? Does it make sense to have your dishwasher on the other side of your house, or does it make sense to have your dishwasher in the kitchen? You're right. Most dishwashers, 100% of them will be in the kitchen, because once you're done washing the dishes, or the dishwasher is done with its cycle, then the most efficient way is to have things closer. You can move your forks and your knives and your plates directly to the cabinet. So majority of the things that you all are already doing, it is already lean. You just don't know it. Just say, for instance, this. Think about this. How many of you are on this podcast today, when you put your clothes in the washing machine, you sit there and watch the washing machine for the full 30, 40, or 50-minute cycle? Or do you move on and start doing something else? Those are the same practices we call in terms of transformation or waiting. Because if you're waiting on something, there is 1,000 more things you could be doing while you're waiting. So majority of you are already doing lean. You just don't know that you're doing it. It hasn't been translated or documented in that form or fashion. Now, I'm going to give you one more. And in tune to, it's a certification needed. Once you get to a certain level, because a certification can be very difficult and it can be super high level for some individuals. And I always tell people, listen, Our coaching program gives you the opportunity to learn at the lowest level, at the white belt level, which is all you need at the moment. And we coach you through every single process so that you can take on the bigger projects or the smaller projects. But to be honest with you, in these days here, the reason why we decided to make our certification program so much more simpler is because technology is moving so fast. AI is improving everything around us so fast. So if we're not able to move and to learn how to get quick shares in terms of productivity, how to quickly turn around our lead time, how to quickly improve our quality, how to quickly get our people trained so that we can do the same thing over and over again, then there can be a deficit in going through the deep details of what it takes to become a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt. But we have simplified that so that you can hit the ground running. And majority of the people that we bring in, we love for them to already be in a position, or we help them find a position so that we can walk them through understanding how to make all of the tools applicable. But the last one I want to give you is this, in terms of number 5, is make sure that when you're interviewing, make sure that you understand who you are interviewing with. Because if you're interviewing with a person that has no idea what lean is, has no idea what Six Sigma is, you're going to begin to speak the language or the jargon that is completely outside of their wheelhouse. So you have to learn how to study the industry that you're in and make sure that whatever language they talk to, you need to be able to calm down the jargon of continuous improvement so that they can understand it, because some leaders may not understand what is a value stream map. Some leaders may not understand what is standard work, what is leader standard work, what is tier daily management. I have no idea what these things are. But if you simplify it and say, listen, what we're going to do, we normally call it tier daily management system, but it's simply us leaving our offices and walking to the floor to see what the value is at and to create relationships on the floor with the employees so that they feel comfortable with us to tell us the mistakes or the gaps in terms of what's causing us productivity failures or gaps. Simply do things like that. And I guarantee, as you set up yourself with these 4 and the bonus of 5 steps, you will be able to enter into a lean career and excel, and you will never look back, because now you'll be known as a lean practitioner. As people look for problems to solve, they will call your name. My name is Adrian Singleton. This is Beyond Lean in terms of our podcast. I'll see you soon.